Today we will be speaking on the topic of Krishna, cows and humanity. I'm Krunamai Devidasi and I'll be speaking with His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami today. His Holiness Maharaj is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada and an initiating guru in ISKCON. Maharaj has completed degrees across the world and is a PhD from Oxford University. Maharaj was requested by Palgrave Macmillan to write a book in their Animal Ethics series. And in the end of last year, December 2019, he published the book Cow Care in Hindu Animal Ethics, after a thorough research across the world with many devotees over 2 years. This book is also available on open access for anyone to download. So thank you so much, Maharaj, for being with us today to speak on this topic.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So Maharaj, we've titled this talk Krishna, Cows and Humanity. How is it, do you feel, that these three aspects relate to each other?
They relate to each other in so many ways. Yeah, I was thinking a little earlier. I like one way that I like to think sometimes is in terms of graphics. If we were to make a sort of mind map, or we can call it a yantra, and so we make a triangle, and on the top we have Krishna, and we have cows on, let's say, the left side, and we have human beings, humanity on the bottom right, and we have a triangle. They're connected. So cows connected to Krishna, cows connected to human beings, Krishna connected to cows, Krishna connected to humans, and humans connected to cows, humans connected to Krishna. And we can think about this in a variety of ways. In a more abstract way, we might think about how Krishna is he is the Parama Purusha, Purushottama. So he is the category, so to say, of Vishnu Tattva. And then we have humanity as Jiva Tattva, and cows are also Jiva Tattva, along with, we understand from Padma Purana, 8,400,000 species. From that perspective, one may ask, so what's so special about cows? And this is something I discuss, you can say, throughout my book. In one sense, we can say there is nothing so special about cows if we consider them simply as jiva, as human beings. But by the same token, there's nothing special about humans either. And so then we consider, we have understanding there is something special about humans. What is that? And we learn from the Hitopadesh that we have everything in common with animals except for one thing. What we have in common is our activities of eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And what we have that makes us distinct is dharma. And as we understand from Bhagavad Gita, which is, of course, very much about dharma, the very first word of Bhagavad Gita is dharma, dharma kshetre kurukshetre, and at the end of the Gita, Krishna also speaks about dharma. In the third chapter, we have this interesting description of a sort of cosmic eco-cycle, which involves humanity and divinity and the process of yajna. Krishna does not mention cows specifically, but you could almost say their presence, their necessity is very much essential. Verse number 14 of chapter 3, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhava yagyat bhavati parjanyo yagya karma samudbhava. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced from performance of yajna, yagya, and yagya is born of prescribed duties. The word for prescribed duties is karma, but Prabhupada adds the word prescribed, suggesting dharma. And how do we perform yagya? We perform yagya with one of the essential ingredients is ghee. Where are you going to get ghee except from cows? Now, this brings us to the close relationship of cows with what Prabhupada often called Brahminical culture. And we're nicely reminded of that from the prayer from Prahlad Maharaj, which appears, as far as I know, originally in the Vishnu Purana. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagaditaya Krishnaya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Go Brahmana Hita. Govinda is he who benefits, Hita, the cows and the Brahmins. And cows are mentioned first before Brahmins. And one can understand that suggests a kind of priority there. And indeed, we see that Krishna, what does Krishna do? Krishna cares for the cows. And as some of those I spoke with, whom I interviewed in researching for this book, pointed out, Krishna is serving the cows. He is showing us, we are serving Krishna, but what does Krishna do? Krishna serves the cows. And so this indicates that if we serve cows, we are also serving Krishna. If Krishna is serving cows and we serve cows, then that's certainly going to be pleasing to Krishna. So in this way, we could go on about it, but you see these sort of interconnections. And what this points to is an inclusiveness where we, humanity, are properly situated in our relationship with Krishna by virtue of our proper being properly situated in relation to cows. Does that make any sense? That was a little abstract.
No, absolutely. That was so nice. Because so many people ask why cows. So I really appreciate that comment. Well, Krishna serves cows. So if you want to serve Krishna, so that's really nice. Thank you, Maharaj. In speaking of Dharma, as you mentioned there while you were speaking, in Mayapur Dharma, you gave a seminar series titled Connecting the Ecological Dots. And part of this, you spoke on Dharma, cows, and Sankirtan. So could you give us some highlights from that talk, please? Well,
I would just add, because I spoke on Dharma and cows just now briefly, we can add to the triangle if you like.
Yeah.
we can add Sankirtan as the what is Sankirtan? It's the glorification of Krishna, glorification of the Lord. Sankirtan also, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur points out, the prefix sam can mean together, but it can also mean complete. And so Sankirtan means complete glorification. So the complete glorification of Krishna takes place when we glorify Krishna and his associates, his devotees, and his associates, his devotees, of course, include cows. And I was just reading yesterday, I think, Srila Prabhupada points out that Krishna embraces the cows. Krishna embraces the cows, and Krishna embraces the gopis. And so there's an equality there. there's a recognition that both gopis and cows are devotees, and therefore Krishna is embracing them. He's embracing all the devotees. And so the complete glorification of Krishna includes the care for cows. Furthermore, what is our outreach? We are trying to reach people in such a way that they will be attracted, of course, to Krishna and to the way of life of the devotees. And the way of life of the devotees, for people to be attracted to, we want to, as we say, we want to walk our talk. And our talk, following Srila Prabhupada and our tradition, is plain living and high thinking, to demonstrate the plain living aspect, which then fosters, and we would say makes possible, the high thinking. Cows must be present. Cows are integral to the program of plain living in so many ways.
I know the devotees, some devotees in Australia, when they go out on Sankirtan on Harinam, they hand out leaflets about the cow protection program, and that attracts a lot of people to the farm.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So I'd really like to speak about your book, which we mentioned at the beginning and you brought up a couple of times already, and it is titled Cow Care in Hindu Animal Ethics. But how do people from other cultures and other faiths can relate to the idea of cow protection and animal ethics?
Yeah, good question. First, I want to explain why I made the title as I did. The reason was the invitation. Small correction. Kalakanta said that I was invited by the publisher. I was invited by the editor of a book series on animal ethics, which is being published by this particular publisher, Palgrave Macmillan. And this editor is a friend of mine. He's a wonderful person who is a champion of animal care, animal protection, and he is also the director of the Oxford Center for Animal Ethics. And over, I think, at least 3-year period, he was suggesting to me, why don't you write a book about Hinduism and animal ethics? And one day he said to me, I really would like you to write this book because you're a practitioner. And when he said that, the bells started ringing, and I thought, okay, this starts to sound like Krishna wants me to do this. And then I thought, okay, but it's a huge topic, and what I'd really like to write on in that case is about cows. But because the book series, because the invitation was to write on Hinduism specifically, I could understand I need to have the word Hindu in the title. Yeah. And of course, being in the title, I give considerable attention to this aspect in the book. But one emphasis that I make in the book is that cows are cows. And although many champions of cow protection in India emphasize their concern for indigenous Indian cows, what they like to call Deity cows, we see with our own Acharya, the Founder-Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada, that he never made any distinction between Indian indigenous and other cows. He made no distinction between both Taurus and both Indicus. These are the two sort of main divisions in the breeds of cows. And he very specifically encouraged that his followers should establish cow protection all over the world. And so that's something I emphasize in the book. I call attention to projects of cow protection, both in India and outside India. I interview people both in India and outside of India. And so the message I want to get across in the book is this is actually not about Hinduism as such. What is Hinduism anyway? So many. I introduce, of course, the idea of Sanatan Dharma, but even that idea is, for many people, has a lot of baggage associated with Hindutva, with Indian nationalism, Hindu nationalism, and so on. And we do want to, we want to open to everyone, and so for that reason, I tried to make this balance. At the same time, I want to say I have huge appreciation of Indian indigenous cows. I think they're so wonderful. I just spent during lockdown, I was at the farm called Neelachal Vedic Village in northern Maharashtra. This is connected with ISKCON Juhu of Mumbai. And there they have some 200 gyr cows.
Wow.
And I mean, these cows are just so sweet. So, yeah. So both aspects are there. One thing I would like to see, something I have to talk with Kalakanta about, is possibly introduction in the West of some of the very interesting traditional Western breeds. I just learned recently about a breed of Southeast Europe, which has almost disappeared, and it's being revived. A very beautiful, very small cow. And then there are these, I've always thought these long-haired cows, I don't know the technical name, from Scotland are so nice.
Scottish Highland cows, I think they're called.
Sorry?
Highland cows.
Ireland?
Highland,
yes,
yeah.
Highland cows. Yeah.
When you mentioned that you spoke to people from inside and outside of India, so you did interview many people in the process of writing this book. Is there anything especially memorable or inspiring that you can share with us from these interviews?
Well, first I should say I didn't interview nearly as many people as I would have liked to. My time was quite limited because the publisher's contract gave me a 2-year period to deliver a completed manuscript, and it turns out that's not very much time to do both research and writing and editing and everything else. So it wasn't a whole lot of people as I would have liked to meet. I had a very nice experience at Patmeda in southwest Rajasthan. Patmeda is a network of goshalas. At the time I was there, they had some 45,000 cows, govangsh, as they say, meaning both male and female. And it was just fascinating to hear these people talk about their project, and just to see the kind of enthusiasm and dedication that they have. It is that, I would say, is the common denominator. Everyone that I met, maybe I was fortunate to meet the right people, the people who are often would call themselves Go Bhakta. I am a Go Bhakta, they would say. I'm a devotee of Go. And one of the people I talked with in Patmeda, actually it was the senior Acharya, the person who has inspired the whole project. He was saying that in this age of Kali, the Lord appears in the form of cows. You know, we understand the Lord appears in the form of his holy name. The Lord appears as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He was saying the Lord appears in the form of cow. And I thought that's interesting. But it's also, if you think about it, it's very nice on one side and it's very painful on the other, considering how many cows are killed. You know, as we speak, according to statistics I found, in 1 hour, some 34,000 cows around the planet are being killed. Or 800,000 every 24 hours. So, but anyway, that's another point, but depressing point, but harsh reality. And that's what I think, you know, we want to demonstrate, not just talk about, but we want to demonstrate the alternative to that. Also, talking with the devotees, the Gowalas in the Hungarian farm, New Vrajadam, I appreciated very much from the perspective that here are Western people who have not grown up as farmers, but one in particular came to the farm, he was attracted to Krishna consciousness, and within a short time, he was engaged in taking care of cows, and ever since then, that's been his service. I think it's been 20 years now. And what I've heard from him, not only him, from others, is how when you really work with the cows, you experience, and this will be something you can tell us about, I know, because you work with cows very closely. You get to know the individual cows, and you get to appreciate their individual features, their individual personality. And that has struck me every time I've talked with people. That's a kind of consistent point that they make.
Absolutely. I used to always, people would say, oh, all the cows look the same. How do you know which one's which? And I said, I would say a herd of cows is like a classroom of children. They've all got different personalities and they all have different needs that need to be met. And when I was living with the cows, that's exactly how it was. They were all completely different from one to the next, and they had different needs. Some were very needy, and some would much prefer that you just gave them their space that they needed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw this also at Neelachal Vedic village in Maharashtra. Every morning I would go and watch as they were doing the morning milking. And their system there was they had, at the time of milking, they would have the calves all assembled in one pen, and then they would bring the calves one at a time into the milking area to go to their mothers. And when they would come to the cow pen, the calf pen, and there were about 40 calves in this pen, Dadaro or any of his assistants, they would call that calf, and without any difficulty, he knew who he was calling, even though to me they all looked very similar. He would be pushing some out of the way because they all wanted to go to their mothers at once, and he had to make space so that the one calf he was calling. So yeah, it's interesting to see that.
It is, yeah. It's like a family dynamic. It feels like when you're with cows.
Yeah.
So you did say that we should be setting an example for these other people who are, there's such a wide range of cow slaughter at the moment, and a lot of it is down to a lack of education. People just don't know, and we did see that in Australia, that people were doing this because it was in their family heritage, and that's all they knew was working with cows and selling on the cows. So we need to set in that better example. So do you feel that farm community development is now that next big step within ISKCON?
It's certainly an important step, and along with that step, I would say we have to be a sort of resource for people who are thinking, this is really a good idea. I'd like to do something like this too. How would I go about doing it? If we can become a resource that's, of course, showing example, but also giving guidance, very practical guidance for people who say, okay, I want to do this too. I have some land, or I have some friends, we're going to get some land, and so on. Can you give us some advice? Yes, we have a whole team. We should have teams for that purpose. I mentioned this very briefly, almost at the end of my book. I have, in the final chapter, I have something I call cow care affirmations. Like in New Age sort of self-help books, you find this idea of affirmations. You want to, solve some problem in your life. You learn how to tell yourself something positive that's going to overcome that by speaking in the present tense, as if the problem is already solved. And so I've written six affirmations and elaborated on each one of these. And part of one of these has to do with education for the public.
Absolutely. So do you think that, or how do you think leadership support for the essential development of agriculture and cow protection can be beneficial?
Sorry, say again.
Sorry, I think I worded that funny. How would the leadership support be essential for the development of cow protection and agriculture? What can the leaders be doing, or how can we be leading?
I would say first thing leaders can do is talk about this.
Mm.
And although we say sort of cynically, talk is cheap, if we talk sincerely and just keep talking, one result is that those of us who are talking about it will become more convinced ourselves of what we're talking about, and we'll start feeling more compelled to also walk the talk. We can generate more energy, and we, in this way, follow what Krishna is saying also in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that whatever a leader does, others will follow, and whatever example he or she gives, all the world pursues. Then this will be a major step. I think we also want to, I think leadership does not have to come from those who are already designated leaders. Again, I mentioned this in the book. The real leaders of cow protection are those who actually do it and who have experience and know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
But also leaders can manifest, especially among younger people. And you're there in England now. I've seen so many, young, energetic, very intelligent, professional people connected with the community of Vaishnavas who have so much potential with good ideas, which can lead to good organization, which can lead to, funding, which can lead to all kinds of things, and eventually we can start seeing a momentum building up, such that it gets to a point where, what? You don't have a cow? You don't have any cows? You don't have milk from protected? What? You're buying milk from the supermarket? There will be a trend, just as we see a trend with veganism, a huge trend. We can have this trend. We can have a cow protection trend.
That's nice. I was going to ask a question. I was going to ask for your thoughts on this quote, but you've pretty much responded to it already. But I'll read it out. It's from the UK GBC Pragosh Prabhu, and he recently said that a rise of the vegan movement is the wake-up call for devotees of Krishna to take cow protection and farm communities seriously, so that ISKCON can once again be at the forefront of being forward-thinking, innovative, and a beacon example for others to follow regarding this topic. So, as you are a member of the ISKCON Ministry for Cow Protection and Agriculture, what roles can the ministry be playing in assisting the communities to become that beacon and to become that example?
I think it's very much what the ministry is now beginning to do in valuable ways, to bring more attention to the whole subject, to facilitate, to make it easy for people to get involved. Just like now, we're seeing this GoFundCows.org project, which I know is going to be officially launched in a couple of days. I'm stealing thunder. Sorry. So this, again, what I think also the idea of creating a standardization where there's a possibility of getting a stamp of approval, a stamp of being authorized and being up to standard, can be a significant step. Just like in the organic food industry, they have ways of acknowledging that some food is actually organic. On a whole variety of areas, I think the ministry could start clubs for children in the different communities, kids for cows. Because once you get the kids interested, the kids are going to get the adults interested.
Yeah.
The kids are going to be encouraging. They're going to expect their parents to somehow be helpful and involved. So, yeah, I think the ministry is very key for the society of Vaishnavas, because Vaishnava communities are now all over the world, and the Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture serves an important purpose of acting as a network that can call attention to and take advantage of best practices, and to facilitate improvements and realization of best practices. Yeah, I mean, that's just a few things.
Yeah, very nice. You were very fortunate to have worked closely with His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami throughout the cow protection initiatives. Could you give us any insights onto what it was like doing these services with Maharaj and his mood towards cow protection?
Well, truth be told, I personally didn't have so much close association with His Holiness Bhakti-Chara Swami in relation to the ministry. But I did see, sort of tangentially, if you like, I saw that he was very concerned to develop the ministry. I was always hearing from Kalakanta about how concerned he was and how he was actively supporting the ministry. And also, I was fortunate to visit the particular project that he started in Florida, outside Orlando, Florida, last September, at a place called DeLand. They, under his direction, acquired a small farm, and I don't know how many cows now. I think they just have 9 or 10. But it pointed to me, it was an underlining of my appreciation. I could see that Maharaj was concerned about, to the extent that he was giving time and attention and funding. And we're still grieving over his sudden departure, and his departure, as many will know, happened in Orlando. He was, as far as I know, his intention was to be at DeLand, at his farm, at that farm project. So in my mind, this was sort of marking, it was signaling a key concern of his.
Thank you, Maharaj. What do you feel like is a key focus that we should be having in moving forward with the goal of putting a better focus on agriculture and cow protection?
Well, I think one thing we can do is each of us individually and collectively as communities think about our milk consumption.
Absolutely.
And if we are in situations where we are purchasing milk from supermarkets, from the dairy industry, we can think more deeply about how we might shift. And we may initially be thinking, well, it's just not possible. But we should remember what Srila Prabhupada said about that word impossible. He said in a different context, he said, the word impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. So we should be thinking, how is it possible? It must be possible. How is it possible? Let's see how it might be possible to redirect or create resource and then redirect our patronage to projects in which cows are protected for life, to get our needs for milk. And together with this consideration, I've suggested in my book that we think carefully about how much milk we actually need. I'm suggesting we may actually be consuming more milk than is healthy for us. We understand that milk is healthy, but Srila Prabhupada specified how much milk for an adult should be about 1 cup. 1 cup of milk per day. If we combine these two directions of thought, should it be that I understand better that milk is a delicacy, that it's a delicacy because it comes at quite an expense, not just economic, but a great deal of effort to protect cows. Protecting cows is, again, as you know much better than I do, taking care of cows is a lot of work. Although the chief cow gowala at this farm in Maharashtra, I interviewed him and I asked him, what do you find most difficult about cow care? And he said, nothing is difficult. Nothing at all is difficult. But anyway, others will say, well, it's quite a challenge. So combining thinking about how much milk do we actually need, and can we get milk, what we need as a delicacy from protected cows, then I think we will make very good progress forward.
That's great. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your very insightful answers to all the questions today.
Thank you so much. Can I just make, again, sort of a plug, if you like,
yes,
for my book? It is available. I did the GoFundMe process of fundraising so that we could make the book available free of charge through what's called open access. So anyone who wants to download the book, Cow Care in Hindu Animal Ethics, you can search that title on Google and it will take you to the publisher's website, where you will find a button that you can click and download either as PDF file or as EPUB file. We get metrics through the publisher of how many downloads. The book has been downloaded now since it was published last November, 32,000 times. So people are interested in the subject, but yeah, we want anyone who wants to read it, we want to make it available, because we know that to buy the hardbound book for many people is not going to be very practical. Okay, that's my plug.
Okay, thank you again, Maharaj, so much for coming today.
And thank you so much.